thank you very much for coming, everybody, and sorry we're late. Just to give you a little bit of background on the Independent Network. The Independent Network was kicked off 3 weeks before the 2005 general election, where we had got 12 candidates endorsed just in time to actually get through the election period. We then waited until the 2010, and we're working for the 2010 election, where we decided to give another push. We had 48 endorsed candidates at the general election in 2010. 300 independents stood across the country, and there was a turnout of 300,000 odd votes, 300 odd thousand votes for independents. It's a time where, in a time when we've had over the last year 3 parties in government, people may well be asking questions as regards whether they actually offer an alternative. People may well be questioning the political party's validity. We are wanting to present independence. We are presenting independence as the only alternative to political party candidates. People who commit to the Bell principles, as far as the Independent Network is concerned, but also people who really just want to do the right thing and work hard for the people in their constituency. People who follow their conscience, their constituency, the wishes of their constituency, and are inspired by their experience and their expertise. As part of the Bell principles, they commit to being non-discriminatory and committed to pluralism. Obviously, if you're an independent, you have your own views and you respect the fact that other people also want to be independent and have their own views. The Independent Network wants to provide a national identity for independent candidates, so that they can feel, and what through the endorsement process, which Tamsin will talk about a little bit more, the electorate can have confidence that somebody's looked at these people to say, yes, they are good people, good candidates, they will be good representatives, they are people of integrity that will represent their local area and their local constituency, and not be guided by pure party politics. Many people believe that party politics doesn't have a place really in local politics, which I think when you're dealing with some day-to-day matters, one can question whether a political party view should have an impact upon refuse collection, issues of local environmental health, issues like that. Tamsin, would you like to talk a little bit more about the endorsement process?
Yeah. So across the country already there are 1,400 1,400 independent councillors, and we would have liked to be able to reach out to every single independent candidate individually, but we're a very small team, so obviously that was going to be impossible. So what we did instead was that these independent councillors and candidates, they sometimes form local groups, independent groups that are just there to talk to their constituency and to reflect the wishes of their constituencies. So what we did was we would endorse a group, and then it would be up to that group, a sort of affiliated independent group, to endorse individual candidates that came its way. So for example, in St Ives, we endorsed the independent group in St Ives, and then it was up to Jonathan Salt, who was the leader of that group, to endorse the individual candidates as they came. So that's how the endorsement process worked, and that was really great because it allowed a real local connection to the candidates that were coming forward, instead of having to run through a London office and for us to have to try and get to know and find out whether these candidates could commit to the Bell principles, were committed to the Bell principles in their everyday life and everyday work. We could trust our independent affiliated groups with that job.
So it's very much a network. This is our first local election campaign, and independents do already have a presence at a local level. We're hoping to gain on that. We don't know how many candidates at the moment are standing as independents, because obviously that information is held by all the local returning officers. As soon as we have that, we'll obviously pass that on to you, and also let you know for your local areas as well, for the local guys.
but we have endorsed 450 candidates for the local elections.
Can I hand over to Martin, if you want to say anything, Martin, first off?
I'll be very brief. I had the privilege of being an independent member of Parliament for 4 years, and I was under a great deal of pressure from the constituency, which is now George Osborne's, to break my promise to serve for one term only, but because politicians keep promises, I obviously had to keep it. Especially in local government, I think there's a very strong case for non-party representation. And the classic here is Tony Eggington, who has successfully broke the Labour monopoly of power in Mansfield with his independent group, and I'd just like to turn it over to Tony, for whom I have the greatest admiration. I'd like to see a lot more Tony Eggingtons around the country.
Yeah, well, you know, going back to the Bell principles that we talked about, October 2002 was when we ran a referendum, or when I got elected, and I have to say, in a Labour stronghold. You know, it was always a Labour hotbed, and the old adage that if you put a red rosette on a donkey, he or she would have got elected. And because I got elected totally unaware. The officers of the local authority just didn't have an office prepared for this thing to happen. You know, if this guy does get elected, what are we going to do? They didn't even consider that. And but I got elected, and it was ferocity. You know, I inherited 41 Labour councillors, 3 Conservatives, 2 Lib Dems, and I wasn't welcome at all. You know, I really wasn't welcome. And because my first job, I wrote to all the sitting councillors and said, you may or may not understand, but I appoint the cabinet, and you've adopted a leader in cabinet system after the 2000 Act, and but it's now, whether you like me or whether you don't, I'm the man, and I will elect the cabinet. If you want to be a part of my cabinet, send me your CV and the reasons why. Well, because the Labour group was, can't do this. Who's this man? And I had 3 meetings with the Labour group executive to say that these are the 3 people that we want you to have. I told them that they were going to get 3 seats. They were the biggest party. 3 seats for Labour, 1 Conservative, 1 Lib Dem. And I had 3 meetings with the Labour group executive to say, these are the 3 people that we want you to have. I said, well, that's not how it works. They haven't got the right capabilities to serve the people. They're serving the people now and not a party. And I will pick them on their merit. And that's what I did. And still to this day, and I stand for election in just over 3 weeks' time. And I've reduced the number of councillors. One of my manifesto pledges in 2007 was to reduce the number of councillors, get better democratic accountability, to get buy-in from people. The previous government talked about total place shaping, community benefits of community, no resource. This government, we're talking about localism, the 405 pages of the localism bill, 403 pages of waffle, but 2 pages of a little bit to grab onto, but no money, of course. So I've reduced the number of councillors this first time, 36 single member wards, from 19 2- and 3-member wards to 36 single member wards. So they are accountable to the electorate, as am I, and they can't go and hide behind, you know, Martin, go and see George, and George says, well, I'll go and see Sam, and the end result is people fall out with democracy. And so I've been a great advocate. I've followed Martin's principles, and we've got 36 seats up for election, and we've got 36 independent candidates. We are challenging every seat. And you know, I got elected in 2002. In the May elections, all-out council elections, Labour group went from 41 down to 13. Independents took control on my shirt flaps, so to speak. 25 councillors. In 2007, they were increased to 29. So independents have controlled the council now for two periods of administration, and we've got 36 independent people who all support the Bell principles of people before politics, and I think one of the nicest strap lines that I've certainly used of late is that I look outwardly to the people and not inwardly to a party, and that seems to be the issue. And I read on the train coming down yesterday, in the Local Government Chronicle, they were talking about the the imposition of 12 directly elected executive mayors for the 12 cities next year. Leicester, well, you probably aren't aware, but Leicester have broken the mould. They went for a referendum and they are electing a mayor in the May elections outside of the imposition. And it was quite gratifying that 4 mayors are up for election in May, and Ray Mallon and myself are the ones that seem to be the ones that are not going to fall under the political sword. So in 3 weeks' time we'll know. And but we're there to fight, and it is. I think as Martin said he had that term, I actually said when I got elected that I was a 2-term believer. It was very much a Mayor Giuliani situation that I got elected on the back of zero tolerance and the 9/11, the 7/11 disaster, and I said 2 terms. But of course, the people, not just the members of the independent forum, because we've created an independent forum. The people, I had old ladies coming and knocking on my door when the local press said, "Is Mayor Eggington going to stand again?" And they came knocking on the door, pleading with me to stand, because I'd helped them in a sure start situation, in a neighbourhood watch situation, and so it's quite gratifying. And here I am. I stand for a 3rd term when I said I was just going to do 2 terms. So, as Martin said, I have actually broke the mould, but I've given all the reasons why. You know.
And can I add, if you want to know who the mayor's chauffeur is, it is the mayor.
Yeah.
Tom, will you give us a little bit of your experience?
I was elected in February, on February the 10th this year, so a month and a bit ago. And I stood as an independent because I felt that at a local level, definitely, you don't need party politics controlling small issues like litter bins and cutting the grass on a park. In 2008, in St Ives, where I stood and was elected, there was an election, and 10 independents were elected, and which knocked out a majority, which were the Conservatives at the time. And since then, I've been interested in following the independents and their work. And they've done so many great things by working, as independent people, but also coming together when you need it, that I just got more and more interested. And in the 2010 general election, Jonathan Salt, just sitting there, he ran in the general election as an independent candidate, and I helped out with his campaign, sort of on and off throughout, and doing bits and pieces for him, and got even more interested in independent politics, that you don't necessarily need a party guiding what's happening for the constituents and that. So I decided just after Christmas that I would stand as an independent candidate, and as there was a by-election, decided to stand, and I was lucky enough to be elected with 41% of the vote. There was another independent who stood as well, and the overall vote for independence was 60%, which kind of gave the message back to the people of St Ives that people of St Ives did want independence in their local council, and weren't too pleased with having party politics guiding it. So I'm definitely 100% for, at a local level, you don't need party politics ruling anything at all. And it's just been great to have so much support from the independent network, and every person I've spoken to has been very supportive of it.
So I just wonder if there's any questions that anybody has for anybody.
I have a question for Tom. Do you think your election can inspire more younger people to get into politics? And secondly, inspire them to challenge the major parties when they do get into politics?
Yeah, I think definitely a lot of younger people because I'm still in education, I'm still at sixth form. As I started the campaign and got doing things, there were definitely more people interested in what I was doing.